I've been teaching in traditional schools for 20 years, and this has been my last year in that system. I've been a kindergarten teacher for this last year, and the last 2 weeks of school, I had finished all of my curriculum, all my tests. It had been a really good year, so I was really free to do whatever I wanted the last 2 weeks of school. So I decided to use that time to test this theory of freedom in education. I filled my room with all types of things to stimulate my students' minds: books, my Kindles, puzzles, art supplies, anything that I felt would stimulate their minds. And every day, those last 2 weeks, the students would come in, hang up their book bags. At first, it took some getting used to, because they would say, well, what do we do, Ms. Prater? They were so used to me saying, hey, let's go over our morning schedule. This is what we're going to do first, second. But the last 2 weeks of school, I just said, you may do whatever you want in this room. And a miracle happened. There was no fighting. There was no disobedience, no behavioral problems, no mischief, no kids not doing work. They either were teaching themselves, doing their own learning, playing cooperatively, which, as you know, playing cooperatively is learning. Because how many people do we know who don't know how to work with people? But I digress. And it was an amazing experience. It was just miraculous. I mean, there was not even very much idle time. The only time I saw anything idle was when a child had to just stop for a minute and think. Within minutes, they were up pretending to be a snake, or doing a puzzle, or reading a book, or drawing a picture. Always learning. It was tempting, though. It was tempting for me to interject and say, hey, do this, or to make suggestions. I really knew I was onto something when my two behavioral problems were playing happily together. And when they had an argument, they were able to solve their own problem without any help from me. They were writing letters to friends. One little girl decided to write a whole list of all the words she knew how to spell. Another child was doing an art project, playing with Legos. Some kids gathered around my Kindle to do a word find. And they were happy. And they were learning. I turned on music, and they began to dance as they did their own independent projects. It was beautiful.